Well, here's a question from Don on email about tithing. He says, I've heard you talk on and off about the issue of grace giving and tithing. What about Abraham's tithe to Melchizedek? How does that factor in? Well, Don, the idea that Abraham tithed to Melchizedek is not really a reality. He didn't earn that money. He didn't give a tenth of his income. Abraham went to battle. He went to war, and he was killing people. His army was killing others, and so then there was loot left over after the battle, after the war. And so what happens in the story in the Old Testament is that Abraham gives a tenth of his spoils of war to a foreign priest, a mystery man called Melchizedek. Now, the reason that the book of Hebrews tells this story is very specific. The book of Hebrews does not tell this story in order to command us to pay 10%. There's not a single verse in any New Testament epistle that commands the New Testament church to pay 10% of their income. That is just a fantasy. So those who want to argue that we're under a 10% tithe today, well, the burden of proof is on them. The sheer absence of any instruction to give 10% of your income in any New Testament epistle is staring us in the face. And so from that lack of evidence, we draw a conclusion. If Paul is not advising the Galatians or the Ephesians or the Philippians or the Colossians, if he is not advising them to give a required 10% of their income, then perhaps he really meant it when he told the Corinthians to give freely from the heart, not under pressure, and that God loves a cheerful giver. So maybe this thing about giving from the heart is real. Maybe it's not about a number. Maybe the reason that the Hebrew author brings up the Melchizedek story is to make a bigger point. It's not really about your wallet. It's about two covenants. It's about a man named Levi who is symbolically in the loins of Abraham, and this priest named Levi is paying homage, paying respect to a greater priest. And so Jesus is our priest in the order of Melchizedek. And so the whole point is that the lesser is blessed by the greater, and the lesser paid homage to the greater. And so Abraham paid his respect to Melchizedek, and Melchizedek is greater than Abraham. Well, why would that point be made? Because since Melchizedek is greater than Abraham, Jesus is greater than Levi. And so Jesus and his priesthood are greater than the priesthood under the law. And so that makes the new covenant of grace greater than the old covenant of law. And that's the point made in that story, Don. It's not about how much you need to give. God is not giving you a number as a mandate. Instead, today, on this side of the cross, we are dead to the law. We are not under the law. Christ is the end of the law. And so we have to decide in an atmosphere of liberty how we want to give and what we want to support and why we want to support it. And so that's what grace giving is all about. It's not about a number. Instead, it's all about giving freely from the heart, and that's a beautiful thing. So the grace giving is the same as the grace living. The grace living doesn't stop when we pull out our wallets. The theology doesn't change when we have some cash out at church. It's still the same liberty. It's still the same grace that motivates us to live and to give.